Yeah, it's calm right now, and the mayor of Charlotte is considering imposing a curfew for tonight, local time. That was not imposed last night during the second night of violent clashes between police and protesters. It might happen, though, on potentially a third night of clashes. According to the police chief, there were 9 injured civilians, meaning no police officers were injured, it seems, in those clashes yesterday. There were 44 arrests altogether, as you say. And when it comes to calming this situation down, yes, there is the National Guard that will be in place, but more importantly, there is that video that does exist, as you say, of this police killing of Eric Lamont Scott, and it doesn't show clearly that he's pointing a gun at the police officers. Now, what is important here is the people who are protesting want that video to be out in the public eye, because there are two very, very differing points of view on what happened. One comes from the police itself, saying that this man did have a gun on him, at least that's what they originally said. And then there is the point of view of at least one neighbor and family members who say that, in fact, Eric Lamont Scott, the 43-year-old black man who was shot by a black police officer, just had a book in his hand.
Philip, we're waiting on remarks by the U.S. Attorney General. I'm seeing that the Justice Department is sending a team of trained peacekeepers to Charlotte.
And it's not the first city that they are sent to after protests and riots like what we saw last night. This has happened in the likes of Ferguson, Missouri, or Baltimore, in the state of Maryland as well. These are community relations teams that are supposed to somehow get both sides to get along, whoever the two sides are in this case. It seems to be between the police and largely the African-American community in Charlotte. But those teams won't be the most visual ones on the ground in Charlotte. The most visual ones, of course, will be the National Guard. These are U.S. soldiers who will be there in their military vehicles, patrolling the streets and making sure that public buildings are not damaged if it does come to further riots and to further looting, some of which there was yesterday. This is the same scene that we have seen in the past in the likes of Ferguson in Missouri when the National Guard came out. The governor has activated them, and they will be in Charlotte tonight.
Philip, what are the reactions nationwide? You were mentioning how this is just the latest in a string of similar tragedies.
Well, in terms of the state of emergency that has been imposed, there is not much opposition to this, because I think there is one main reason for this. The state of emergency and the deployment of the National Guard in other cities across the United States in similar situations has in fact worked and has calmed the situation down. It's not a pleasant sight to see. You don't want to see U.S. soldiers patrolling American cities, but it has worked in the past. Now, what is happening here, though, is that the whole of the country is seeing these images from Charlotte, the running battles that were seen yesterday on live television, and they're obviously equating this to what happened in other cities, and this is a recurring problem. And the whole country, I think, knows that there are racial tensions right now. And in terms of the political reaction, well, let me just leave you with this one from the Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump. He says this: "There is a lack of spirit between the white and the black." Now, that is his way of portraying what is actually true. There are racial tensions in the United States, and they are serious ones, and they came to the fore again in Charlotte last night.